So as I begin to invite people into this video, they give me the opportunity to do invites. There we go. Today we're going to be doing a book review. Man, the light's bright. And I'm going to be going over some reference material for some of the people that's just getting started on their journey. And this will help them like have an idea of how to get started. And I'm gonna go over some study suggestions as well, so that people can know, like, when you're looking in a book, how do you really get the best out of that information? And from there, we'll move on to do a couple more invites. And, let's see. All right. So in the understanding of the mystical, you have to have like some frame of reference in order to anchor the mind. The anchor for the mind is your foundation. So if you was born and raised in the church, then Christianity would be your foundation, because that's what you're familiar with. The only thing you have to do at that point is to determine how do you use the Christian doctrine in order to unravel what's being said to link you into divinity within the self. So you're trying to connect to the creator in the self, because it said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all these things shall be added unto you, to all the things of the world, but you got to attain a heavenly level of attainment. So how do you do that? If we go to the Prophet Muhammad, when he first received Quran, the first thing that the angel Gabriel said to him was Iqra. Iqra means read. And so why is he telling Muhammad to read? I put up a post a few months back explaining how to see your ancestors that's within proximity of you. And you have to exercise the optic nerve. The most effective measure of exercising the optic nerve is reading the written word. That's all it's for. You take and extract bits and pieces of information as you exercise the nerve so that you can cross the checkerboard. So you're trying to get inward vision by training your external vision and perception. So if you are a Christian, you use the Christian doctrine, which would be your Bible, and certain reference books that tells you how to unravel it, like a Strong's Concordance. You would need a Strong's to unravel some of the names and the words. So you need a Strong's Concordance when studying the Bible, and you need a good Bible dictionary. There's quite a few good ones on the market, so I can't just isolate to one, because you might be led to get one for a single sliver of information. But a good study Bible, the one that I like the best, is the Ryrie Study Bible. And it got a lot of good edits in the footnotes that point out things that's good points of reference. Now, I keep using the term a point of reference, because the way we perceive information is that we have to relate it to something. Go over a few reference books. The reference books is like, for instance, if I have a dream about, let's say, a cheetah. Well, I need to know what energy comes with the cheetah, and how does that relate into who I am as a person. So I would use like totem magic. Totem magic tells you the energy signature that comes with the animal. Now, the cheetah might not be in here, but it might. So I will go to the book and I will find the cheetah or whatever animal it is. In my case, my totem is a gorilla, which goes to Asian prophecy. Now, in reference to this, the totem magic is telling you how to harness that energy of your totem. And it also tells you what a totem is and what does it mean to take the taboo out of it that the oppressor has placed on it. So they place taboos on information that they don't want you to investigate. Well, you got to understand why they don't want you to investigate it. So or you might see a bird, a specific type of bird everywhere you go. Why do you see this? Let's say it's a red bird or a blue jay or a robin. Everywhere you go, you see a robin. You see a robin when you come out to church. So then you're aware, what does that robin mean? Because that's the energy signature that's following you. And you have to see the robin externally so that you'll know what the energy signature internally is trying to alert you to. So then you'll go look up the meaning, the mystic meaning of the robin as a bird. And once you find the mystic meaning, then you go to the attributes. And the attributes is going to give you the energy signature. So it's a robin is a songbird. It's red-breasted. Red breasts always symbolize a glowing heart, caring, loving. And it has a from black to a gray to a brown color overlay over that, which indicates that it comes from the Blackbird clan. So those are just indicators. Okay, now you got that information. So you know that the robin is a songbird. That indicates singing, listening, vibration, because sound is vibration. So you writing these down in order to figure out what energy is pressing on you to notice it and to reveal itself. So this is how you read your totems. Now let's say ever since you was a child, that you can remember, you keep every dream you have, you got a specific animal in there. Let's say it's a dog, because a dog is a very common animal for people to have. Every dream you have, you had a specific dog in there. Well, that's your familiar in the dream realm, but you might not have a dog in the physical world. But we know that the dog is a pack animal, which represents family, and they are notorious for loyalty. So a person that is denied a lot of loyalty and betrayed a lot as a part of their life path will often find that they have a constant dog companion either in their dreams or in real life. So the most betrayed in real life are the most likely ones to be attracted to dogs, because the dogs is the symbol of the loyalty that they crave. So they forever craving loyalty, so they forever in need of a dog. So that's just an example of totem energy. But in this case, that totem switched from the totem animal as a dog in the dream world, which was just this pure energy of loyalty, to a physical dog that followed you around in life, which would be called a familiar. The only difference in a familiar and a totem animal is the familiar is an actual animal. So you see a man come out the jungle with a lion. Well, that's his familiar. And he can sick that lion on you if you want to, or he can make that lion lay down at your feet, because he controls that internal aspect of himself. That lion won't resist him. And that would also be Leo energy. So now when you take his familiar, you know what energy he mastered in itself, which when we get to Egypt, you see a lot of what they call zoo type facial characteristics and headdress. Those were people that mastered the totem energy of their particular tribal totem. So like when you say Horus is represented by the hawk head, his tribal totem is the hawk, meaning high spiritual vision, the ability to rise above and to look down on things instead of seeing them at ground level, the ability to see into the distant future, is clairvoyance, and the past. So the Falcon clan has a lot of mystic properties that he has to master and a lot of physical. Now, as we start to get into the use of references, now you know that when you have a sign pop up repeatedly, it's trying to get your attention. Once it gets your attention, now you research it. And one of the things that we need to know is the words. Now, I got this in Dictionary of Magic Words. Now, this book right here is not really what the covers say, but the idea of the Dictionary of Magic Words or the Dictionary of the Occult helps you to see symbolism. And so you will need those. And this one right here is a reference book because this is what our trap is based on. Our entire system that we trapped in is based on the Kabbalistic practices of the Babylonian priesthood that has everybody under the oppression right now. And so you have to have that as a reference book with your, remember we're using the Christian as the anchor and point of reference. So next to your Strongs, you need this. Next to your Bible dictionary, you will need that. And then that will get you started on your mystic path. Now, I gave away my Emerald Tablets of Thoth to somebody that needed it. And so that is a critical piece to the puzzle because it's the light switch for those with the internal light. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth is going to turn that inner light on. If it's off, you're going to automatically be attracted to the information. And there's a lot of mystic secrets in the Emerald Tablets that your subconscious mind is going to perceive. And once your subconscious mind lock onto this information, it's going to make you act on it in the physical world in the most efficient and the best way possible to get the best result. That means that if it's best for you and it's the best interest of the greatest good for you to do it peacefully, it'll be peacefully. But if it's in the best interest of you to tear something up, in the best interest of the greatest good to tear something up, you're going to do that too. But before you engage in warfare, you have to exhaust the negotiation process, which goes to what Sun Tzu say it's better to win one victory by strategy than 1,000 victories by conflict, by warfare. So he says it's better to win one strategic victory than 1,000 bloody battles. And he say that because the goal is always the preservation of life, because that's what Earth is about, abundance in life and life abundance. So once you're done with the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, you're going to want more of that type of information. And so like the Hermetica goes back a long way in the mystic circles. And some of this information is not going to consciously stick with you, but subconsciously it's going to lock into those memory bytes or those megabytes of data that came with the Emerald Tablets. So once you read that, that is the Hermetica, Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs. Now, a lot of this is not going to be conscious to your mind that processes are taking place internally as you go through this information. But you're going to be driven to what is more expedient for your personal development, and you can't neglect that, and you can't let people outside of you dictate your internal development because they're going to sabotage you because they're going to not want to do their work. So they're going to tell you not to do your work. Like that's foolish. It's ignorance and all of those type of things. And so you got to remember, once you start doing your work, everybody that's used to you being the old you are going to give you resistance to becoming your best you because they don't want to do their work. They figure that they're going to sabotage you. So that's why in the biblical discourse, the Christ They say, ain't that your brother and your sister over there, or son, your brother and your mother? He said, a brother and my mother are those who do the works of my Father. Now, once you get done with that one, you're going to have Corpus Hermetica, which is a different version, right? Now, all these Hermetic books, read them, because even though the information in some of them are dull and dry, there's keys in there that's going to work on you on a subconscious level in all of the pieces of light. It's like parts of a computer program that's on different disks. And as you download one disk, it goes to build onto the program. So then from there, some more Hermetic books that I don't have on hand right now. Okay, so now the Hermetics, I don't care whether they're a Mason, a Shriner, a Templar, a Catholic priest, or whatever it is, all of them study Hermetics. The enemy and the allies, all of them, that's what they call initiated and at the top level, study Hermetics. Why do they all study Hermetics? Because it gives them an insight into the secrets that move the powers of the universe and how to harness that within the self in order to make an external expression, which y'all call manifestation. What is a manifestation? Is when you bring something out of here into the physical world, is manifestation. And we all have that ability. Now, when these internal processes start to kick in, you're going to have strange dreams. So that means that you're going to have to know about what it is to be fit leaving the body. Why do you leave the body? What is this all about? Like Muhammad was in meditation on the night of the Hijrah, and he was taken up. Ezekiel was in prayer, and he was taken up. What do they mean? Well, it was taken out of a physical form. In order to take the fear aspect out, in order to make you braver and bolder in the movement, you have to study the people that study the process. And this is one of them. This one's by D. Scott Rogo. But there's another one out of Arizona who really, really started it, the study of it deep. I can't remember his name right now, but it come to me. The Monroe Institute, Sylvan Monroe. And he was the one who pioneered the research in the out-of-body experiences using scientific methods. But now, once that light start coming on, you're going to have all of this power surging within your body, and you're going to be restless. So you have to learn how to control it and focus it. So what do? Well, like this book right here, it's pretty good, and it's a good beginner's book. But it's called Learn to See an Approach to Your Inner Voice Through Symbols. Because all of the symbols that you encounter, all of the symbols that you encounter are trying to relay small pieces of information to you. If you don't know how to read them, you won't know what the information is in the conscious. Your subconscious still know what it is. You can't act on it until you're consciously aware that what it is. Once you make that bridge, that subconscious knowing with the conscious awareness, that knowledge and awareness, and then you can use the information. Other than that, is useless information. So then you learn to see internally. Now, I got some more good books that's references for internal perspective of these properties. One of them right here, the Mystic Grimoire Mighty Spells and Rituals. Now, whether you use the spells and rituals in real time or not becomes irrelevant to understanding what the spells and rituals do to move energy in the physical world. So even if you're not, because some people just not interested in doing conjure work, spells and rituals, but they need to understand the spells and rituals to know how the spells and rituals is moving energy, and they'll find that they can work past the spells and rituals they call higher thought, higher facilitated thought. And this is where you connecting your thoughts from your conscious and your subconscious mind. So once you start learning that, that's a good book. The author of this book is Frater Malik. He got a lot of other good books, Frater Malik. Now, when you go into the book, we're going to go over some study things. You'll notice that the book is broken into parts. And these parts, like over here, okay, now those are like study modules, right? So this is a book that you study more so than a reference book. So now you take this part right here, this little small paragraph right here. It's a little small paragraph. And you read it. This one is going, why are some people lucky and others unlucky? And then it'll go into it. It's telling you about the movement of the energy between lucky people and unlucky. That's all it's saying. Don't get it caught up in the story. Look at the movement of the energy between the characters. It's the same when you're reading autobiographies and biographies of people, because you're really reading how the person is moving their energy to a successful place. That's why you study people in biographies. Okay, then another good book, once you start understanding the spells, and I love this lady, Silver Ravenwolf. Now, Silver Ravenwolf, this book right here is just one of her books. It's called To Light a Sacred Flame. And even though it's going over various conjure techniques, this book has a very powerful effect on the divine feminine aspect of the individual, male or female, and it's helping. That's why when you look at it, you see that woman becomes the phoenix. That's telling you something. Her name is the Raven Wolf, the Silver Raven Wolf. Her name is telling you something. I'm not going to tell you what her name means because it might be a violation of her privacy, but it means something. And that symbols are not on this book. These books like this don't put the symbol on the cover haphazardly. It's a reason for that symbol. And just like on this one, the Totem Magic book, you'll notice that there's a panther on there. That's because the panther is the symbol of a priesthood. It's a specific priesthood out of Egypt, the Temple of Bast. So then when you got to demystify that God concept, because the God concept is fictitious. The God that they're talking about is one of the tribes of Israel named Gad. Though the rules of grammar, it's the same word, exactly the same word, but it's transliterated instead of translated. And so one of the things to help you demystify it is, this is a really good book for a reference material on the gods, because you go in here, like people think that seeing is a physical act. What seeing is a deity. Sinner is a practitioner of the way of that deity. Like when you go in here, you can go straight to seeing. Pull him up, and you will find out where he at, where he came from, and what his strengths and powers are in a lot of cases. And the next page here. Now, this right here, seeing. Moon god, Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Akkadian. Right there, it tells you that whoever seeing is, he from Babylon. Derived from the older Sumerian model of Nana, which is Inanna. His consort is Nikal or Ningal. He is symbolized by the new moon and perceived as a bull whose horns are crescent of the moon. So now when you look at the symbol of Mary, or the symbol of that's out of Revelation chapter 12. So it's talking about seeing. And then it say cult centers are identified at Haran, and Nerad. What do they mean by cult centers? Well, you practice the rites of sin in those places, and they call them the cult center. Instead of calling them the church of sin, they call it the cult center of sin, because they don't want you to ever pick this up in real time in mass, because then it'll start to unravel the shoestring of oppression. So now you notice the first place it said is the cult centers are identified at Ur. Now I want y'all to be able to see that, because this word Ur is a Chaldean word that literally means fire, right? So if you are a sinner, you have to already know that sin is the god that was worshipped in the city of Ur, or the city of fire. Well, what that mean? In the city of Ur, there was a thing called Gehenna, which was a large hole in the ground. This hole in the ground was stoked with sulfur-covered embers of coals. And it was a disposal center for the area it was basically the landfill, except instead of filling the land, it incinerated the waste. So over time, they begin to punish criminals there. It's where you get your weeping and gnashing of teeth, because this was still going on 2,000 years ago. So now we know that sin is a god from the city of fire, where they burnt people with fire and brimstone. That's hell. Well, who is hell? Heliopolis. We are back into the Greeks now. So it's sending you on a chain reference. This thing ties to this thing. Now, what it's doing in your subconscious is creating a spider web effect. And that spider web effect is connected all of the information. And subconsciously, you got to find the answer. Now, the beginning question of your life was, how do I find the kingdom of heaven within? And all of these bits and bytes of information you pick up along the way show you. Now, as you start to get a little more advanced, your material start to get a little more advanced. Now, this was a motivational speaker, Anthony Robbins. This is a good book for beginners, because it gives you some of the foundational ideas of mysticism without ever mentioning anything mystical related. Example is when he tells you about, you go into the index to a table of contents, and the first section one, the modeling of human excellence. What do he mean by that? And it's, when you talk about modeling, you study a person's energy and how they move their energy. So you try to control your energy the same manner that they control their energy. They're your model. So you're imitating your model. This was the whole process or purpose of Egyptian deities being kept in stone and in glyph relief. And so you can learn about their energies and try to move your energy internally the way they did in order to have the external expression as an internal deity. So this is a real good beginner's book. And you can both read this straight through and go back to it as reference. This is what I like to call it, a dual research book. It's a good read and it's a good reference. Now, a lot of the people in the African-American community, there's another version edited by, I think the guy name is Claude Anderson. No, his name is, I forget his name, but it's the same book, but it has a lot of references to African-American things. It's called Unlimited Power, Black Choice. That's an excellent book too, but it's like this information plus some African-American seasoning to it, so to speak. So then you start to see things. As you start to see things, there's a couple things you need to be aware of. I talked to one of the elders on the phone, Neely Fuller. He was the one who gave me the piece that I needed to discover that the white supremacy doctrine was not, it was an actual military strategy, and that how it was laid down. Now, this book, the United Independent Compensatory Code Concept System, this is the textbook for breaking that white supremacist mentality. And one of the things that I noticed is that there was 10 parts to this book, and 10 things that they try to control using the white supremacist model. Economics is the first one they try to control. Education is the second. Why? The money and the babies are the first two things they're trying to control. Then even though it's in alphabetical order, it is also true to the protocols, which you absolutely have to have protocols of the learned elders of Zion, and you want to get as close to the original copy as you can, and I'm gonna go over that in a minute. But economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Those are the 9 areas of people activity. And I started looking at that lens, but I read the protocols first, right? So I already knew what the agenda was being laid down and how it was being effectuated. And from that, when I got this piece of information, it was making a whole lot of things connect, because Frances Welsing mentioned Neely Fuller in the ISIS papers. Now notice her book is called The ISIS Papers, Keys to the Colors. That is not by accident either. And on the cover, there's a photograph of hieroglyphics. So we'll start to unravel the puzzle using these models. Like when you put this next to the protocols and you follow that down in real time, like the word school is the same word as the Yiddish word sheol is Yiddish shul. It's Hebrew sheol. It's the same word. And what's the difference in the Hebrew and the Yiddish is that the Yiddish is spoken by those Europeans who does not have a craniofacial structure, and the vocal range to pronounce the Hebrew word in its original language, meaning their tongue is not heavy enough to properly pronounce it as Hebrew. So where they became deficient, they added Latin, Spanish, and French words into the Hebrew to soften up the tongue so they can pronounce the words. And so when I started putting that together, he came out years later with a compensatory counter-racist codified word guide. Now remember, the words tell you the energy and how it's being used. This is like a dictionary to unravel that doctrine. So now we got these two and we got the protocols. Then it starts to dawn on you that, wait a minute, this ain't what they told us it was, and this is not what's going on. So this is like the beginning. This is the beginning. This is like a foundation that I'm laying for you here. Now, then you had those that were like, well, all this learning is fine, and I can learn how to do the spells and different things, but I want to manifest. Well, what's a good book for beginners in manifestation? A good book is Hidden Secrets. That's a really good book. The Hidden Secrets of okay, this is by Carl Nagel. Now, he got some more books for the beginner that's excellent. And that book, The Secret, the whole secret to the secret is they're not going to never tell you what the secret is. You got to remember that. You can read the whole book 1,000 times and they're not going to never tell you what the secret is. So I'll tell you what the secret is. The secret, right? Your purity of heart and your clarity of thought connecting. In order to produce something physically, you have to have that purity of thought and that sincerity of heart. When you match them two, and it's almost like saying be. When you visualize it and you say be, and you have to do like a physical expression to bring it from the psychological or the mental realm into the physical. And that's what they use. The ritual is just to anchor the idea, concept, and energy into the physical three-dimensional world. That's the holy purpose of the ritual. It's the only purpose of praying. It's the only purpose of meditating, is to take what's going on in the spiritual mental matrix and bringing it into the physical three-dimensional reality. And so when you see them doing all of their Masonic rituals or satanic rituals or your masses or your church ceremonies, all they doing is taking what's going on in the mental and the physical matrix and trying to convert it into real time. That's what they call manifestation. The secret not gonna never give you the secret because they got another book to write, some more money to make. So they're not gonna never give you the secret. They're gonna hint and tell you how the secret worked. They're gonna tell you how they discovered the secret. They're gonna talk so greatly about the secret, but they ain't gonna tell you what the secret is clarity of thought, purity of intent, physical expression of the representation. Now, you can do that, and women, y'all need this. I mentioned this in the Way of the Woman, because my mama said women should always have enough time to take a hot Epsom salt bath. What she was saying is ritual bath, because she was telling me about the different oils and how they put the oils in there to ward off this negative force or that negative force. But she's talking about ritual baths. I love this book because it got so many different ritual baths that do so many different things. And so once you get out of that bath, you're going to automatically know why. So you first one you take, even if you're a man, you're going to know why. Ooh, that was the truth. But them ritual baths move your energy and the way that you want it moved. And now we have to go to the sound, because now you want to bring a physical representation in optically so you can see it. And then you want to be able to speak it into existence. Now, they have a practice technique in India called the mantras. And for the divine feminine, you got to be brave, or don't mess. If you got any fear in you, this is the wrong book for you. But it's a beginner's book, but you have to be past your fear, which is a process. This book is powerful, and I'm specifically putting this up for a couple of people like Jillian and Keita and Portia, and y'all understand that power of the Kali mantra magic, because Kali is the hostile side of the mother Isis. It's when she done everything by the code of righteousness and these devils still won't listen, and then she has to become Kali and tear it up. Now, also, like, that's mantra, okay? Now, you have to learn to control your energy in various different ways and everything. Here's another book that I really liked that on yoga. And it talks about the Tantra, the Shakti, and the secret way. Now, remember I talked about in the Way of the Woman. This is what they're talking about, because this where it would be the Tao or the sacred or secret Tao. But this is what this is now. This is going to tie back into the Hermetics, because in these are unraveling them, you're going to find there's a lot of Egyptian words and terms in there with their original Egyptian meaning in a whole nother land, and they're going to activate with your Hermetics. They're going to work. They're going to move energy physically, internally, through when it start connecting with your Hermetics. Now, when you start doing the physical expression, now, the physical expression, like I said, is the rituals. But then you might need, let's say, for instance, I'm going to give y'all an easy ritual for a beginner. You're a beginner, right? And you want to manifest, say, $1,000, because you have to start small as a beginner, because you're not strong enough to draw $1 million worth of energy through you yet. You haven't developed the faculty. But this is a real easy ritual that you can do to manifest some money, as long as you have if your heart is pure and your intent is pure, meaning you need the money for a righteous cause. It can't not come if you use this ritual. So you take a bay leaf and you take a photograph. It could be a little small photograph, a little 5x7 or something. And you put the photograph up on the altar so you can see it. And you write $1,000 on the bay leaf and you relax. And you like imagine that the greatest pure energy from all over the universe is converging on you. And from there, you light the bay leaf once you feel your whole body is relaxed. The reason why you want to be relaxed, because any tension is an indicator of an adrenaline. It's an indicator of a fear factor. The tension is to prevent you from using your higher faculties. And those faculties are blocked by the emotive energy of fear. So only way to get past that fear energy and use that higher faculty of energy is to relax the physical body. Because in order to relax the physical body, you have to turn off that mild fear that keeps just enough adrenaline and neuroepinephrine to keep you from proceeding forward with your dreams and your goals. So you write that on there, you relax. Once the body is totally relaxed, you set that bay leaf on fire, and you can just imagine, you smell the smoke, you know what I'm saying? And you're looking at the picture of money, and you're looking at the money go up in the universe through the bay leaf smoke. But as all of that energy is converging on you from all parts of the universe, you begin to, in your mind's eye, see that all the smoke is starting to be like a vortex around you, drawing the energy in. And once the bay leaf is done burning, you let that swirl in your mind until the smoke starts to dissipate, because guess what? You're absorbing it. Now, forget it. It never happened. It never happened, because if you keep thinking about it, you're still pulling on the energy. The energy can't work. You have to forget about it. It's not always easy to forget about it. So you have to distract yourself, take a cold shower, hot shower, take a walk, anything to get back into the three-dimensional reality, holding that energy within without disrupting it any further. You have to let the energy work. Once that energy works, you manifest it now. You ain't got to worry about it. It's going to be there. Now, it's going to be hit or miss if you holding on to the thought. But the more you manifest, the stronger the faculty become, the bigger the prospect that you can manifest in your life. So you understand manifestation. Now, this book right here is for a little bit more advanced practitioners. But this book is a heavyweight. It's called Magic That Works, Practical Training for the Children of Light. And it directly ties to the Hermetics. But if you look, you see that star, that 5-point star, that's the star of Venus. But if you look at the lady, now notice it's coded that she's sitting on the crescent. See, they use her body to cover the top half, so she end up sitting on the crescent. So that tells you who it is. Now see that the 3 circles is one right here, and there's one at the bottom right here, and then there's one on the other side right here. Those 3 circles are what you know as the 3 sisters, the 3-phase moon. And she's sitting on the crescent. Now remember, we went through that earlier, what the crescent meant. And then what is she holding in her hand? She's holding a scroll. But it is not just a regular scroll, because if you notice, it's illuminated. And that indicates the scroll of light. So that's reading symbols, and you need these type of books in order to understand how it all works. So that trains the mind to use the energy internally. And then as you absorb that energy, you are electromagnetic. You got to remember this. Electric and magnetic is electromagnetic, which are 2 ends of the spectrum or the frequency that you vibrate on. So as an electromagnetic being, the more you learn to control your electromagnetic field, what they call it an aura. Research the aura and research mitochondrial and research melanin, because it is what you call a 3-part spiritual matrix: melanin, mitochondrial, and your aura. Your aura is your torsion field. So you got to also research a torsion field, T-O-R-S-I-O-E. And the torsion field is the scientific term for a magnetic field around something that take on a specific form, also called the torus, which goes back to the horns. Excuse me, y'all. Okay, which goes back to the horns. So your torsion field is your torus field. And your torus field is the crescent moon that the ladies stand on. And I'm not going to go there. I was about to run down a whole series of stuff and tie them all together. But I'm finna scroll through my comments and see if I had any questions for any specific type of reference that somebody might have wanted. Also, we need to study psychic self-defense. A psychic self-defense is learning to protect yourself from the negative energy fields that other people send at you, consciously or unconsciously. What do I mean unconsciously? We already know. Well, what do I mean consciously? First of all, everybody thinks for somebody to curse you, hex you, or damn you with negative energy that they got to perform a ritual or see a witch doctor. That's not true. Envy, jealousy, resent, spite, all these are going to have a certain energy. And the person thinking about you, and those are the energies in their heart. Now remember, purity of intent you can manifest. But if you are significantly impure, you can also manifest. So that's when they say the force is neither good nor bad, it's how you use it. The person that's sitting there next to you, smiling in your face, talking about how much they love you, but they got that resentment in their heart. They have that jealousy in their heart. And then they thinking in the back of their mind that if you want something from them, that you have to perform a certain manner according to how they think you should live your life, because that'll keep you from outshining them. They don't even know that's what's on their mind, because they already think they under the false impression that they're showing you love and that they're doing you some kind of favor for fucking you over. They are actually putting that negative energy in your field without neither one of y'all knowing it. It's the same as casting a spell. So if like you sitting there and you thinking something negative on a person, and like for instance, I can't stand that mother. I hope he get hit by a car. You put that negative energy in his aura, in his field, and it's projected like a beam coming out your third eye, because it takes place mentally. And these psychic mental processes is projected externally from the frontal lobe. You have to draw it from the base of your spine and project it out from your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe has what they call mirror cells. And these mirror cells, emotionally, they give you empathy, but everybody don't have them connected emotionally. Some people have them connected to physical stimuli or psychological stimuli or something other than mental stimuli, but not emotional. Like the emotional things don't excite them. Some people like to do things like, for instance, a mathematician might not get excited about the opposite sex, but if you see a challenging math problem, he might go into overdrive, start sweating, and his whole sex drive turns on at that math problem, because his mirror cells are tied into his intellectual expression. So he can't even perform in the physical world without the highest level of mental expression in his life. If he have to just be a math teacher in junior high, he's going to live a miserable life. But if he can be a scientist where he's going to crack major math problems, he's in heaven. He in heaven. He's living his best life, because now he has that constant emotional internal drive to be the greatest mathematician and to confront the greatest problems. And that is going to make that emotive drive or that intellectual drive connect to a woman. And it's just going to propel him into like, iconic status. It's going to propel him into icon. He's going to go down like a Belikovsky or a Einstein, like that, because it's just going to be so great to him. So those mirror cells and his projection into the outer world is that he's going to be the greatest mathematician, and this is what he's working on. So anytime he's miserable in his life, that means that whatever his strongest projection of how he wanted his life to turn out is not being pursued. He can't be happy. He can only be miserable. But when your highest aspect, if you everything you do feel like it's part of you moving towards your higher aspect, the sense of fulfillment, it's going to constantly keep washing the negative energy out of you, because it's going to keep you into a constant positive state. And so you have to learn the psychic self-defense of how to protect your auric field, your torsion field, your Meissner field, your aura. All of these is the same thing. And it started off real small, not even a couple inches from your body. But the more you work toward becoming your best self, it begins to swell, and swell. And then other people get to a certain proximity to you, and they're gonna be like, what's up with him or her? And they're not gonna know what it is, because their aura is so small. When they come in, they like crushed by yours. Now, when a man starts getting into that state, like that scientist, this is in the pursuit of what they call the wisdom of the ages, and he finally fall in love. This is why priests are supposed to be celibate. When he pursuing the wisdom of the ages, the reason he's doing that is to temper the love of the Christ, or what they call the passion. So that level of energy, if you don't do the physical, mental work. The priesthood of today, the Catholics, they're not righteous because they can do all that intellectual stuff, but you don't have mass. Like, all of the priests don't go out and work out together. They're not keeping the physical form in balance with the earth. That means that these people not right. Now go over to China and watch the Shaolin priests, watch the Dharma priests that y'all call Kung Fu masters, but watch the Buddhist monks. They all go work out together, and they all meditate, and they all study. This is what they do as celibate priests. They do this because at the closing of the age, they have to be spread this to so far into the future that by the closing of the age, the real priesthood will be distinguished from the false priesthood. And that is necessary. It's necessary to distinguish the two, because the false priesthood is the ones that's deceiving us, stealing our money, which is actually our internal energy. The money that we see as green money is the dye marker in the water. It's the mark of the beast. And everybody thinking about money, or they're trying to get that money. It's all it is greed. And that's the greatest obstacle now. The second greatest obstacle behind the greed is the division, because the greed is fueling the remaining division. All of the leaders out for the bread. They want to be comfortable. There's only a few of them that's out there for the people. But the rest of them, Creflo Dollar, TD Jakes, what's that dude? Pat Robertson, Oral Roberts, Jimmy Swagger, they was in it for the bread. They was in it for the bread. And I'm going to tell you how I know. This is how you know if a preacher been a preacher and he went through Bible school, and you leave the last church you left, you came to this one, and they teaching the same doctrine, and both of them been to Bible school, they all in it together. You can't go to Bible school, not be exposed to the truth in its original text and its original languages to a degree that should make you search the truth to deliver to people. So they went to Bible school and they teaching the same, what they call Nicene Creed doctrine. Can't trust them. Now I'm gonna show you I'm gonna show you somebody that's not in it for the money, but they have to always, if you're not in it for the money, you can tell the people the truth, but you always have to make reference back to what they call the script. The script is the Nicene Creed. So remember, we started this off from the Christian perspective of research. The Nicene Creed tells them this story of how the church is supposed to recognize Jesus. Now, check out Chuck Missler on YouTube. I'm going to show you what he is. He's a real researcher and scholar. He'll start off with the script, and he's going to tell you I'm about to go into this, and it might not go along with the beliefs of the other ministers. And he's telling you that for a reason, because he's about to tell you the truth. Then he'll go to a whole bunch of science. He's going to go studying plasma physics and the breakdown of the atom and the electric universe and how all this relates to the text in the Bible. He's going to do all of these. He's going to tell you exactly what's going on, but in the end, and you're going to go back to the script. You got to go back to the script, because if you don't go back to the script and you give out that much truth, they'll execute him. So he know what he's doing. He ain't no dummy. And so only thing that they have mixed up is don't nobody know that that's not the Holy Land that them people don't know. They can have the West Bank. That's not the Holy Land. The Holy Land is not in the Middle East. The Holy Land is in Central Africa. The Holy Land is called the Absu in Sumerian text. It's called Zulu land in the land of the people that supposed to be walking there. The Zulu is actually saying the people of heaven. And it's people over here like the Hopi, meaning people from the stars. Same people, different sides of the water. And so I hope I was able to give y'all some good reference material to get y'all started. I'm going to do some business related, child related, like child development and different stuff like that. But I can't do all that in one video. We'd be here for 8 hours. And so this is a good starter kit. That's all this is a starter kit. None of this book is your final destination. All these are is like, these is the weights you're going to put on the bar for your brain to lift in order for you to facilitate the higher energies and functions. That's all it is. So when you look at it, it gives you like anchors to help you get out of the deception. It takes the cognitive dissonance out. You're right, Ace. They ain't got to go through all that making stuff. But the whole thing now is exercise the mental and the spiritual, because what's coming is going to turn on your internal light so bright that if you don't exercise mentally, spiritually, and physically, when that light of the Christ turn on, it's going to basically short circuit your physiology. It's the same as if you take a flashlight, a 9-volt flashlight, and you route 150,000 volt power generator to that 9-volt flashlight. It won't stand a chance. It's going to be incinerated by the connection almost instantly. And this is what's going to happen for those who don't do their work. But right now, some people did work in past lives and don't remember it, and it's giving them like insights on how to keep from being consumed by the passion of the Christ to the point where you spontaneous combust. And so some of them did their work prior, and they just here to see the finale. They did it already. They're here to see the finale. Those are your ones that automatically feel the drive to help others. They already either did their work or they was one of the guys. Either did their work or it was one of the guys, like Tupac. He was one of the guys, and he did his work. So from there, when your mind start seeing things, when you, like for instance, schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is an untrained psychic mind, undisciplined psychic mind. The priests used to know who these were that's going to be schizophrenic, and they would pull them out of the general population to train them in meditation and mental and spiritual discipline, so that the psychology never breaks down when it starts to receive the impressions from the spiritual realm and force. It can facilitate the translation and transliteration. Those energies, once you learn the signature of those energies, that's the foundation of what they call your tarot cards, your divination, your ability, like your mirrors, your crystal balls, and all of that, right? So once you get to there, you start training the mind to see beyond what's here and now. Once the mind is trained, you can't untrain it and know it already. Anything you ever knew is still there. Consciously, you might not access it because the way that it works, in order to move your thinking in the higher realms, your regular conscious awareness is like a RAM, a short-term computer that feeds things orderly into the hard drive. Now, the hard drive is your subconscious, where you store your memory. But then you have another stream of information that they call the overmind or the universal mind. Now, when your hard drive is filled up with data and it's organized and it's been put in there over a period of time, that created a whole bunch of energy movement in the body. Now, the energy in the body can facilitate something. It can facilitate your hard drive going into what they call the cloud. So if you got an iPhone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you can't store it on your phone no more, it goes to the cloud. And then stay in the cloud indefinitely. Where everything in the cloud or the super mind or the universal mind is still there, but you have to use your internal hard drive up. What? I don't know what that was. Once your internal hard drive is used up, your mind will then start to connect with the universal mind. And this is what they call enlightenment. This is when your crown chakra, it's about this big around your head now. Your third eye, which was right here now, it's the Cyclops eye. It's this big. And they touching right here. Because this lens is fully open. So it's just like a big eye right here, like Cyclops. The lens is open. Your third eye, you cannot be deceived at that point. You can see all deception in front of your face at that point. But it don't happen in 2 days. So you're going to read 2 books and get there. Because the energy inside is going to move according to your work. Some of us, there is accelerated techniques for a strong, disciplined person. That's different. But for the average person, you're not going to get there instantly. But if you are diligently doing your part, when the time comes, you're going to be there. When that light turn on, all you got to do is, from wherever you at right now, do your part in developing your internal self. And when the light turn on, everything you need is going to line straight up for you to facilitate it. You don't have to do no whole lot of, like most people think you got to study 8-10 hours a day. You might come home, be tired, but you might pick up a book on the side of your bed, read 1 page or 1 paragraph, put it down and think about it. Let it swirl around in your mind. You ain't got to read the whole book that day. Let that information swirl around in your mind. Analyze it. Think about it. What did you just read? If it was a poem, don't matter. Analyze the poem. And this is how studying works. Because in studying, if you want to memorize and utilize the information the best, the first opportunity that you have after you absorb it, you have to cycle it. You have to give it to somebody else to give it back to you to explain to them. So basically, you read something in the book and you're thinking about it and you're like, I wonder what I wonder what my homeboy Joe think about this. Hey, yo, Joe, check this out. And you tell him, I just read this, man. What's your take on that? And he feed it back to you. It don't work like that. It worked like this. So now it's bringing that information and structure it better in the mind by discussing it. And that's why they have study groups. That's the whole purpose of study groups, is for people to exchange the information so they don't lose it. Because you can read a book with all of the secrets in the universe straight through and don't never think about it again, and you can't use none of the information. Subconsciously, it's just sitting there waiting to be used, but you never activated the RAM with the hard drive. You never made the pathway. So the RAM didn't make a pathway to the hard drive. It fractured it. So now you need to defrag the computer, basically. And that's what you do. But if you read it in a study group and y'all go over it together, everybody, I see it like this. And this is why the conscious community need to realize this is a purpose. So when they stand on there and say he all wrong and she all wrong, and the person that's saying that is actually the one that's actually wrong, because the whole purpose of people seeing stuff different is to give you a broader view of life and a broader view of information and how to use it. If you can only see as a Christian and you can't never see the world from the view of a Muslim, then you can never say that the Muslim is wrong or right, because you never investigated. You have no way of knowing. So the study group produces a side effect, and it's called the mastermind group. And that goes to one of my next videos when I give y'all business references. But the biblical reference for the study group is when two or more, there I am also. What they're talking about. That universal mind is pure Christ consciousness. When you put a bunch of people together to solve a problem, they draw from the higher intellect, the universal mind or Christ consciousness, in order to resolve the matter. So this is why you need the unity. The unity is going to draw the more Christ consciousness into each individual, and then we'll be able to stand in opposition to the oppression and to the enemy without breaking down, because we know I am my brother's keeper, and where I am, my brother is there also. And from that point, that sense of isolation that's the cause of the fear is gone. See, and that's why the divide and conquer works so well, because when they get to the individual level and turn us all nomadic and individual, and make the men not want to be in the house with the women, and the women not want the men in the house with them, and make the kids miserable because their parents not together or whatever the case may be. All these divide and conquer tactics that they've used against us is only to generate the fear. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about when you take in the information, you have to relax so that the energy can swirl correctly. As long as you have that fear factor, that energy is going to be self-sabotaging. But remove the fear factor, and then that energy becomes rejuvenating and empowering. And this is why I tell the females to study that mitochondrial, because Christ consciousness is your battery on your DNA. That's Christ consciousness. Your battery, because the mitochondria is the battery. So a divine masculine and divine feminine together is two batteries. And when you bring them together, they become the remote control that changes the bullshit of life together. When they separate, they got to take the struggle on until they're strong enough to come together against all odds. When they link and sync, it's like a remote control. Anything you don't like, you can change in seconds. But as long as we don't know where our power is and to tap into it, then we are at a disadvantage. And that's why I gave y'all some study materials. And this is mostly beginner information and beginner study material, because I can't take y'all from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour. So to keep y'all from getting whiplash, I kind of like brought y'all in at some, well, it's a little, that's not quite kindergarten. It's like first, second grade information here. But except for the Neely Fuller and the reference material, because those are going to be anything that you're going to always have to go back to. That's called a reference. That's why you had to always go back to it. Like I might be reading, let's say I'm reading the yoga book right here, and I run across some animal in there. I got to refer back to my totem, my dictionary of totem animals. Why do you keep bringing this animal into the subject matter? Now you know what it is. And with that, I hope I was able to get y'all started on y'all journey. I'm going to do one specifically for women and the divine feminine awakening. I got a lot of videos to share on that subject. So with that, I'll say thank y'all for watching. I hope I was able to help y'all out. And until she arrives, I'll talk to y'all later. And I'm going to keep doing this until she tells me to stop. All right. So peace and love and to the awakening and the resurrection. Here we come.